folks, this is Dave Cricks, broadcasting to you from Leigh-on-Sea in the southeast of England. I'm a bit of a creative type, a music coach, mainly for acoustic guitarists and singer-songwriters at Rhythm Shack. I released my first album in 2020. I also paint a bit and like getting outdoors. So you're listening to the Satisfy My Soul interview series from Soul Shack, where we hunker down, dig in and talk about what lights our candles, floats our boats, and generally makes life worthwhile. So grab yourself a cuppa and let's see if today's discussion can help satisfy your soul.
May your head be calm and gentle. May you find some peace of mind.
Hello everybody, today I'm talking to Sally Jackson-Robbins and we're talking about chill swimming. And you'll see me looking up here a lot because I've made some notes today to remind myself of what we're doing and what we're going on about and what I'm going to be asking, because it changes all the time. Sally was born in Stebbing near Dunmow, moved to Wickford, then moved to Leigh. She is the owner-director of Harley Street Skin Clinic in Westcliff. Always worked for yourself. I didn't know that. I might have to come back to that. I don't know anybody who's always worked for themselves. Harley Street Skin Clinic, of course, is now closed because of the pandemic, or is closed for now. Because of the pandemic, and I guess it's been a really tough year. And we were just talking briefly before we started this, saying how, the first lockdown was I think for a lot of people, it started, right, okay, I'll get a lot of things in order. Here's some things I've been too busy to do. Haven't had time to do that. Lots of general housekeeping and stuff. And of course, the second lockdown, or the third one that we're in now, it's all changed, isn't it? Everyone's kind of run out of steam and this, that and the other. And I made a note here that it says this latest lockdown, I was finding that the Sally I knew didn't seem to be there anymore. I didn't recognise her until a dear friend of mine encouraged me to take a dip in the sea in October in the rain off Chalkwell Beach. So before I ask you about that, Sally, how are you today?
I'm really good, Dave, thank you. It's, if anyone's looking outside, it's another rainy day. Deep in January. No, where are we? February.
February now, yeah.
Sun's just poking out. I might even take a dip a bit later.
So, first of all, now chill swimming. What is chill swimming? Because I've heard, when I was growing up, we used to call it swimming. And then more recently, in recent years, do you know what I mean though? In more recent years, I've heard of cold water swimming, open swimming, wild swimming, all of which I assume are pretty much the same thing, but it's not quite the same, is it? Because certainly when you started this, you got into it in October, November, October, wasn't it? So it was all about the cold water.
Yeah, I think I don't know whether there is a specific definition, but I think it means it's not in frozen water.
Okay.
So I think it's a couple of degrees above, so anything from 3 or 4 upwards is chill. Whereas I believe, frozen water swimming, I believe, I don't know, I'm not sure. I've not really studied it because I know how cold it is. It's just chilly.
Yeah.
I think it's just a term that just implies that it's all weather, any time of the year.
Yeah.
Warm or chilly. Yeah.
Now what's the appeal? Because I've been swimming in the same beaches that you have for all the years that I've lived here. I go down there in the summer with the dog often and have a swim. When the dog's allowed on the beach, or if we go out of hours and all that kind of stuff. We won't go into that right now. But I'm quite a keen swimmer in the sea in the summer. Why, oh why, are you going in when it's bloody freezing?
Well, I think at the time, the desperation of the third lockdown had come in. And as I said, I felt like I was losing a little bit of my own identity.
Mm.
And I felt that I needed to face myself again because I was losing sight of kind of who I was.
Yeah.
Then a friend of mine mentioned about going into the... I didn't really consider it to be cold water. It just was the sea. It was just Chalkwell. Let's just go off Chalkwell. And she mentioned a group called the Blue Tits, and I don't know that I paid that much attention. I just knew I needed to do something to take me out of this kind of place that I was.
Yeah.
And so my first reason for going was really to meet up. It was to meet up and engage with somebody.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about the water. And the water came after. The fear then started coming after that. And once I was on the beach with my friend, looking out at this sea in the rain, I then thought, oh, okay, I am going to do this. And I think that brought Sally back to myself, because that's what I do. That's the kind of person I am. I like facing up to things, and the challenge of going brought me back to my comfort place, even though it's one of the most uncomfortable things to do.
Yeah,
I think I must like getting a bit comfortable.
The
challenge of getting a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, I know. I've known you for a while now, and I know. Obviously, you and Belinda, my other half, are very good friends, and I know that you're an outdoors person, aren't you? You're a dog walker, you're a rower, you go camping, you go paddle boarding. You know, I'm very much like that. We're very much like that. And I wonder how much of it was initially was just being outdoors, because as opposed to being stuck indoors. You know, so that's part of it, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, the outdoors is really important to me, but I couldn't even really see that as... I think my first real reason was to go and engage with something. The fact that it was outdoors gave it a really fantastic edge, and the fact that I got into water just really did it for me, and the sensation was just, you know, these thousands of tingling sensations over your body. It felt like you were in... popping candy, space dust. It's that energizing.
Yes.
And so I began to feel the benefits, but it didn't start like that. It started with wanting to be with people and wanting to be with friends and wanting to face the challenge, and it just ticked a huge box for me. And then the water came. Then the watery experience came, and that was something that I'd never really experienced before, and now I almost can't. You know, I do go a few days without it, but I do get a sensation of, oh, I really need to get in the watery space.
Yeah,
and
because I mean, you've got quite addicted to it. I mean, you love it, don't you?
Yeah, I really love it, and I think one of the reasons is that you can do nothing but be in water. There's nothing else to do but be in this kind of watery, cold, very tingly place, and your mind is completely switched off from anything else. And there's not many things I think you can do there in nature. You can probably do them in nature, but that gives you that real kind of sense of self in nature.
Because it's very, I guess what you're saying is it's very immersive and very... I almost want to use the word intense, but I'm not sure if that's the right word. I guess it probably is a very an applicable word, isn't it? You have to be very much in the moment, because now you see somebody who swims. I've been in cold water, but not like the kind of water you're in, since I was about 18. I think I might have told you when I was about 18, something like that. For a dare, I was told I had to meet up with somebody on Boxing Day. And it was it was sleeting, it was cold, it was back in I guess it must have been in the early 80s, and I went in and I came out and I thought I was going to die. I felt awful, and I was all lightheaded and this, that and the other, and I was fit at the time, you know, we used to go swimming all the time. So I didn't have a wetsuit on, I just went in, felt absolutely awful, came out and felt awful for about an hour or so. So for me, I'm fascinated because this is really, this isn't just something that you're doing. This is really taken off, isn't it? I mean, it's a huge explosion of interest in this, and I'm trying to get to understand, you know, what you're getting from it. 'Cause I mean, I know I'm going to have to go and try it. But before I do, Try and
You
explain
keep
to me.
saying that, Dave. You keep saying it.
Just said it on recording, yeah.
Well, there's a local group that they're called the Blue Tits. They're actually a worldwide group
Oh, are they?
of chill swim. And there was two ladies that started a local group. I will tell you their names. I haven't met them myself, but their names are Jenny Beer and Lisa Monga. And they started this little group in October. And last week they had their 1,000th member.
Oh, wow.
Local 1,000th member. So that's people stretching really from Lee to Shoeburyness. There's been 1,000 people that have joined in with this phenomenon of chill swimming. And, you know, I think it's absolutely amazing. They've done amazingly well to kind of, well, the encouragement has been fantastic. You know, you are scared when you do something like this, but it's such a positive group.
Yeah.
There's no pressure, there's no judgment. They kind of give you some guidance if you want it. That really helps as well, being part of something.
It's interesting because when
I
was going to say, because before we started talking about this, I thought we were going to be talking very much about swimming, but it's interesting for you. It's been, and I guess for a lot of these other people, it's very much a community thing as well, which of course is so much more important now in a lockdown, to be able to meet people. And of course, obviously, if you're swimming, you're outdoors, you can easily socially distance, you're out in the salt water. You know, it's a very safe way to be connecting with people, isn't it? That's a really interesting point, actually. Go on, sorry, after you.
And it's very cheap. You don't need anything.
Yeah, I guess so.
At all, really, apart from a swim. And there is this thing about going in, and when you suddenly start, you know, meeting people on the beach, and you think, oh my goodness. And I remember when I started, I had a shorty, which is like a short wetsuit, and I had this little bit of a head struggle going on, thinking, am I suffering here from a little bit of imposter syndrome? And that, you know, am I doing this right because I've got a wetsuit on? Am I really not doing this properly? And then suddenly, as I looked around me, some people were in wetsuits, some people weren't in wetsuits. And what was so positive with the Blue Tits and other people that were swimming around me is that it really doesn't matter. There was no judgment. There was, you go in as you want to go in. You don't have to have any kit. You don't have to have the best wetsuit. You can have a bikini, you can have a t-shirt, you can do what you like. But my very first initial feeling was, can I do this in a wetsuit? Am I really doing it properly?
I know what you mean, yeah.
And that soon disappeared because we are so set up for buying the right gear and doing things, you know, with the right stuff. And it really didn't matter. The only two things I would say are really essential: something for your hands and something, you know, gloves and boots.
Right, okay.
Because they suffer a lot.
So that's interesting you said that, because I've got a shorty wetsuit as well, and I keep thinking, oh, should I go in? And after my last experience, all those many years ago, I'm kind of thinking I probably want a wetsuit. But I suppose it depends on the water temperature. It depends on the air temperature. It depends. Maybe once you've been in a few times with a wetsuit, you might decide you don't want to go with a wetsuit. I guess, as you say, I guess you just got to have a go, haven't you, really? But you're saying that it's important.
You just got to have a go.
But you need something for your hands and feet. You think that's the bit that's going to suffer, is it?
Yeah, your hands. The first time I went in without anything on my feet and hands, and it was quite painful.
Oh, was
it was about 6 degrees, I suppose, and it was quite painful. And that was taking my mind off of the experience a little bit.
Yeah,
because I was in a bit of pain. So as soon as you get nice kind of neoprene gloves and some little sock boots, you don't have to think about that anymore, and you can literally just slowly walk in, get your shoulders in, get under, and you're away. And
do Do you also need a hat? Because obviously you lose a lot of heat out of your head, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. Everybody tends to wear a bobble hat. I wear a lovely flowery swimming hat.
Yeah.
But everyone tends to wear something on their head. Yeah.
Maybe my bad experience was because I didn't wear anything on my hat, and I did go right under as well, because that was
Yeah.
that was part of the bet.
Oh my god! I haven't actually been under. I can't face that yet.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, I think that's quite sensible. I don't know, but I'm sure other people would beg to differ. But to my mind, that seems like it's quite sensible. And talking of equipment, though, I guess so. You have to decide if you don't want to try it with a wetsuit. From memory, a wetsuit you can get from roughly 50 quid.
Yeah, less than that these days. Probably 35.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you don't need anything particular. Yeah, but probably a shorty you could probably get for 35.
Yeah, and then you're going to need gloves and
probably,
yeah.
gloves are a tenner and feet are a tenner.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so not very much. I mean, the big thing that you do see down there, which is actually one of my favourite things, is that a lot of people have dry robes for afterwards, because afterwards you really do have to watch your body temperature. So you need to get warm really quickly, and people have invested in these beautiful dry robes that are windproof, waterproof, have a lining and keep you really warm, and you can dry yourself off underneath them. So, but they are a bit expensive.
Yeah.
And, it would be awful for people to be put off because they haven't got a dry robe. I didn't have one in the beginning. Father Christmas bought me one. So, but as long as you really put yourself and really dry off and really warm, have a nice hot drink, and get your body temperature back up, everything's normally fine. And you don't stay in for long. Don't forget, we're not talking like hours or anything. We're talking on some days just minutes.
Yeah, that's the point.
They say kind of a minute per degree. So if you're in 4 degrees, 4 minutes is commendable.
Oh, okay. And is that the sea temperature or the air temperature around you?
The sea temperature.
And to find the sea temperature, I guess you go onto some website, do you?
Yeah. I generally ask someone who's got a thermometer, because they've now got these little thermometers that they take into the water.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, a little thermometer, and you can see the temperature. So
and the idea,
it's always really nice to know what.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I would imagine it's quite important to know. And the other thing, I guess, asking as somebody who's getting well into his 50s now, and he's probably not in the best of shape. Are there any health risks that you're aware of?
Well, I think I'm not a doctor at all, but I think you just have to be careful about how you get in.
Right. And
you have to take it slowly. You don't kind of rush and just dive in. I think you have to let your organs kind of adjust to the cold, really. So you just take it slowly, and you don't stay in too long.
Yeah.
And you listen to your body.
Yeah.
And you just don't think silly, really. And you always make sure you're with someone.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess if anything does happen, you've got someone with you, haven't you?
Yeah. And that's the lovely thing about the blue tits, is that, you just ping a little message onto Facebook. Is anyone down there today?
Oh,
and
okay.
Up pops, I'm down there. What time are you going? Well, I'm going at 3, or I'm going at 2. And even if you didn't use Facebook, I would absolutely guarantee there will always be somebody there.
Especially if there's 1,000, members of the Blue Tits now. I mean, because there's going to be lots of other people who are not members of IMS. Because, am I right in thinking it's a women's group?
No, it's not. It's It's definitely mixed. I think the Blue Tits kind of is luring to the female, and there is also the Blue Bell.
Okay,
and
because the Blue Tits is a very good name, isn't it? For a women's group, for a women's cold water swimming group, it's a great name.
Yeah. Well, no, there's lots of fellas as well, but they're kind of referenced as the Blue Bells.
Oh, I see.
I don't know what blue balls, but
right, okay.
they're not the Blue Bells, so I think it's. So no, it's not kind of exclusively for women. It's exclusively for all.
Do you know if there's a Bluebells or Blue Balls separate group though, or does it just a reference within the group?
I think it's just a reference within the group.
Right,
I don't know, but I'm sure.
Yeah.
Jenny or Lisa, if you contacted, or if anyone contacted the the Facebook page, they would fill you in, in a lot more detail about actually the technicalities of chill swimming.
Okay.
They would be a great source for anybody who is seriously kind of thinking maybe, yeah, I am going to give it a go. Then just hook up with them on Facebook, or just come down to the beach and just have a chat, because they're so encouraging. So I don't know the huge ins and outs. I just know what I know, and I love what it does for me. And
can you explain, I know you've kind of touched on it, but obviously these interviews are all about what satisfies your soul, and we know that doing this satisfies your soul partly because of the people, partly because of the swimming. I get it with the people, connecting with people, especially if you're a people person, as I know you are, it makes perfect sense. Can you explain, and I will totally understand if you can't, but can you explain what it is about getting in that cold water that makes you feel good? Because you can understand why a lot of people will go, no thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. The physical sensation is, I've never felt the physical sensation like that before, because your mind is saying one thing and your body is going, ah, and it's screaming at you. It's literally screaming at you. And once you submerge, it literally is like space dust popping, cold pops all over your body.
Yeah.
And the skin sensation is just fantastic. And you adjust to the cold, and then you look out. So visually, so you've got all senses. You can hear everything. You can see the birds. You can see the skyline. You can see the boats. You can hear all this laughter, because it's always really funny as well. People who shriek with laughter, and so all your senses would kind of like really hit. So your endorphins must be like sky high.
Yeah.
And it just gives you a sense of, I can't believe I'm doing this. It's real pride, a real sense of pride.
Yeah, well, it's quite a big deal. I mean, most people. Anybody I've mentioned it to, because as you know, I came down and took some photos of you guys a while back, and when I stuck them on Facebook, everyone was going, "That's really brave," So yeah, I can totally get that. There's a sense of achievement there, of course.
And you do I can't deny it, you do like the people saying to you, "What have you done? Wow, that's amazing. That's really, it's such a lovely," you feel really proud of that.
Yeah.
You think, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
And anybody, it's not exclusive to any sector or any group of people. It really isn't. Apart from the fact you need to live near a piece of open water somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's, it's so inclusive, so inclusive. I think that, it's a real mixture of all the senses being completely bombarded, and a proud feeling that, you've done it or are doing it. It's just, I can't describe it really.
I think quite often you can't with these things, can you? But I think you've done a really good job of describing it, actually. Really good. It just occurred to me. I notice when people go in there, they're or when they come out, I should say, they're often really bright red. It clearly flushes your skin, doesn't it? I was just going to say maybe this needs to be an extension of your Harley Street Skin Clinic. Maybe there's something here you could be adding to it. Organised dips or something. I don't know.
Water festival.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing was that the other day, little Bob the seal, he popped up as well. So you've got a lovely bit of wildlife going on,
Bless
and so that just feels great when you see nature like that. It's just fabulous.
It does sound really good. I must get down there. Really, I'm running out of excuses. I must get down there. As you say, particularly, with all this going on, we're making this recording. As you say, where are we now? Just the 2nd, 3rd of February. So it's been a tough time for people, and I guess the idea of getting outside and seeing a couple of people and having some kind of thrill at all. We could all probably do with that right now, couldn't we? It sounds really interesting, and I think you've sold the idea of it really well. Certainly to me, anyway. I'm just going to have to actually grow a pair and get down there, I guess.
A man is his actions, mate. A man is his action.
Exactly. Yeah. Alas, yeah. Well, look, thanks for chatting to me today, Sally. It's been really interesting, and I've really enjoyed that. And I think. Yes, I think I'm squirming slightly because I know I'm going to have to say I'll see you down there. Yeah. I guess I'm going to have to do it.
I think you're going to have to, yeah.
I'm just not quite sure when.
You're going to have to get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, as far as what you're doing and hearing stories about things that are touching people, particularly at the moment, or touching people's souls, it is quite high up now on my little list of activities and things that I do that give me, great comfort and pleasure and thrills, and it's kind of quite high up now. I would never have thought. It's not for everybody. I don't think, but it's certainly good for me. And the people that have tried it haven't stopped at just the once. They've got it. They've got what it feels like. They've got how it makes them feel all day. It's kind of the best medicine, and it lasts all day. So if you're, really struggling with things to do and to kind of like while some time away, even if you're in for only 5 minutes, it actually lasts probably for 5 hours in terms of the feeling.
So I'm guessing that might be to do with endorphins or something like that, I suppose. I mean, we haven't touched that much on the health benefits, but I know that I spoke to somebody else about this, I don't know, a month or so ago, and he said he felt it was really good for his joints.
Apparently the cold meant to be amazing for inflammation of the joints and arthritis, and also it's meant to be really good for mental health and for dementia and getting those synapses all sparking and and working properly. So it certainly has done something. But I come back and I get changed. Sometimes I have a warm shower, sometimes I don't. But I do not stop moving. I just get really busy. I start doing stuff around the house. I've got so much energy, and then about 4 hours later, I suddenly go bump, and I then rest into this most lovely, restful, contented body, and it just feels great, and you sleep fantastically, and so what actually doesn't take that long to do can have such a long benefit, for the day.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's really amazing.
I'm definitely you've definitely sold it to me. I'm going to have to get down. What time's high tide today?
I think it's around 4:30 today.
Right.
Got an hour.
Well, I'm teaching at 5, so I've got an excuse for today. But I think I'm looking at Friday. I think I'm going to try and get down there Friday. Mind you, I guess it'll be dark on Friday, won't it? But never mind.
Yeah, people do swim in the dark. A lot have their little head torches and things. I haven't braved that yet.
Yeah, I think the thing that would put me off that is Jaws. Do you remember the film?
I do.
I think, much as I'm happy to swim in the sea, I think doing it in the dark might just be a step too far. I don't know. Maybe I have to try it. I'll see.
Don't overthink it, Dave.
You're quite right. You're quite right. Don't overthink it. No, you're absolutely quite right. And I think it's worth mentioning what you said as well before, which is, I think the idea of taking a flask of tea and a biscuit or a bit of cake down there, I think is a lovely idea. That's one of the things I really enjoy when we go paddleboarding, is getting back on the beach, sitting down, having a nice little cuppa out of my flask. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just getting old, but I love it. I really do. It's a nice part of it.
Right. Oh, it's absolutely great. Little chat, nice cup of tea.
Absolutely.
Talk about what you've been doing. And it's just, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Fantastic. Listen, thanks very much, Sally. I've really enjoyed that, and I definitely feel educated and inspired. So if anybody else is watching or listening, then hopefully you do too. And if you live locally to us, then maybe we'll see you down there. Now I've said that, I've got to go down there. And if you're living somewhere else, then hopefully you can find your own patch of water, be it cold or not, and enjoy it anyway. Thanks very much. I'll leave Sally to do all the actions, and we'll see you in the next interview. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Bye.